The desperate call. The crystalline spires of Lineara Prime trembled as another orbital bombardment struck the planetary shields. In the central harmony chamber deep beneath the capital city, elder visionary Thela watched in dismay as another defense grid node winked out on a holographic display. Shield integrity at 28%, announced second visionary Neris, her voice maintaining the ritual calm that was the hallmark of their species, even as her iridescent skin pulsed with the purple hues of extreme distress. The Carven have adapted their resonance frequencies. Our countermeasures are failing. Thela's six-fingered hands moved gracefully through the air, adjusting the chamber's atmospheric harmonics to help steady the emotions of the 12 remaining council members. The Lineari had evolved as empathic beings, their emotional states literally affecting their physical environment. In times of crisis, maintaining collective calm wasn't just cultural, it was survival. The evacuation vessels? Thela asked. 3 successfully departed, replied Valen, the defense coordinator. The 4th was intercepted. The remaining transports are grounded by the Carven blockade. A somber silence fell over the chamber. The Lineara Confederation, spanning 12 worlds across 3 star systems, had never been a military power. Their civilization had flourished through medicine, art, and spiritual advancement. For 2,000 cycles, they had believed that their diplomatic connections and humanitarian contributions would ensure their security in the galactic community. They had been catastrophically wrong. Our allies? Thela asked, though she already knew the answer. Diplomatic envoy Moral stepped forward, his normally radiant skin now a dull gray. The Jexari collective regrets they cannot intervene in what they term a regional dispute. The Talarian Federation has recalled their representatives, citing security concerns. The Vostok Authority, he hesitated, has signed a non-aggression pact with the Carven. So they all abandon us, Neris whispered. 3 centuries of providing medical aid during the Great Plague, sharing our atmospheric restoration technology, sending healers to war zones, all forgotten at the first sign of Carven aggression. Thela felt the spike of collective despair in the chamber and quickly adjusted the harmonics again. We cannot afford bitterness, she said firmly. It serves no purpose. What purpose remains? Asked Elder Talus, the eldest among them. The Carven will not negotiate. They want our worlds for the resonance crystals in our mantle. They care nothing for our people. The truth hung heavy in the air. The Carven Armada had appeared at the edge of Lineari space 40 days ago with an ultimatum. Surrender or be eliminated. When the Lineari had attempted to negotiate, the Carven response was to obliterate their outermost colony world. 9 billion souls, gone in a single orbital bombardment. Since then, the Armada had methodically advanced through Lineari space, destroying 3 more worlds and leaving the remaining colonies in disarray. Now they encircled Lineara Prime, the homeworld, clearly intending to make an example of the Confederation's seat of power. There is one option we have not considered, said Morel hesitantly. All eyes turned to the diplomatic envoy. The humans. The word hung in the chamber like a discordant note. Humanity, the enigma of the galaxy. They had achieved faster than light travel only 70 years ago, a mere eye blink in cosmic terms. Upon discovering the galactic community, they had behaved unlike any emerging species in recorded history. Rather than eagerly joining alliances or flaunting their achievements, humans had established minimal diplomatic relations, engaged in limited trade, and revealed almost nothing about their homeworld or capabilities. They maintained small embassies on major worlds, including Lineara Prime, but their representatives were unfailingly polite, reserved, and non-committal on matters of interstellar politics. The humans have no stake in this conflict, Talus objected. They have no treaties with us, no significant trade interests. But they also have no agreements with the Carven, Moral countered. And they're the only significant power that hasn't explicitly refused to help us. Do we even know if they could help? Asked Valen. Their technology level, their military capability, if they even have a military, is unknown. They might be even more vulnerable than we are. Another bombardment rocked the chamber, this one close enough that dust drifted down from the reinforced ceiling. Shield integrity at 19%, Neris reported, her voice finally betraying a tremor of fear. Phila closed her inner eyelids in momentary meditation, then looked at her fellow council members. What do we know about humans, truly? They're physically resilient, offered medical visionary Celine. Their embassy staff can survive in a wider range of atmospheric conditions than most species. Their bone density and muscle structure suggest an evolutionary history as pursuit predators. Their diplomatic representatives display unusual cognitive flexibility. Added moral. They seem to understand alien perspectives more intuitively than most species, yet they reveal remarkably little about their own cultural values. Their embassy uses technology that appears deliberately understated, Valen noted, as if they're using older generation equipment by choice. Thela nodded slowly. So they are either a weak species hiding their vulnerability, or something else entirely, finished Neris. Another impact struck, closer still. The lights flickered. Shield integrity at 15%, reported the defense system. Estimated failure in 47 minutes. Phyllis straightened her robes. We have nothing left to lose. Send a message to the human embassy. No diplomatic protocol, no formal language. Tell them exactly what is happening here. Tell them we face extinction. Morel moved to the communication station, his fingers dancing across the interface. The message he composed was unlike any diplomatic communication in Lanera history. Raw, desperate, devoid of the poetic phrasing that characterized their culture. To the people of Earth, the Carven Armada is systematically destroying the Lanera Confederation. 4 of our worlds have been obliterated. Our homeworld shields will fail within the hour. All other powers have abandoned us. If humanity can offer any assistance, we beg for your help. This may be our final transmission. The message was sent to the small human embassy on the planet's surface. If it still stood, and broadcast on all frequencies, the Lanera still controlled. Now we wait, Phyllis said, adjusting the harmonics one more time to a frequency of serenity. And we prepare to meet our end with dignity if help does not come. Minutes stretched into a half hour. The bombardment continued, each impact bringing the shields closer to collapse. The council members composed themselves, some meditating, others making final recordings for the secure archives that might, by some miracle, survive them. Incoming communication, announced the system suddenly. Origin, human embassy. Hope, fragile and dangerous, flickered through the chamber. Display, Thela ordered. A holographic screen materialized, showing a human female with dark skin and close-cropped hair. She wore a simple gray uniform with minimal insignia, a small patch showing Earth's distinctive blue-white sphere. Ambassador Thela, the human said without preamble. I am Lieutenant Commander Adisa Okafor, military attaché to the Earth Embassy on Lanera Prime. We have received your message and transmitted it to Earth Command. Please stand by for response. Before Thela could reply, the transmission cut off. Military attaché. Velon repeated in confusion. Their embassy staff listed no military personnel. Shield integrity at 11%, warned the system. Estimated failure in 22 minutes. The waiting continued, tension building in the chamber despite Thela's best efforts with the harmonics. The bombardment increased in intensity, as if the Carven sensed the shields were near collapse. Incoming communication. The system announced again. Unknown frequency. Unknown encryption protocol. Accept, Thela ordered immediately. The holographic display flickered, then resolved into the image of another human. This one with pale skin and gray eyes that seemed to evaluate everything they saw. The uniform was different, black with silver piping and more elaborate insignia. I am Admiral Helena Zhao, 5th Fleet, United Earth Defense Force, the human stated, her voice carrying an authority that seemed to resonate through the chamber. We have received your distress call and verify the situation. Help is coming. Please transmit all tactical data on Carven fleet positions and specifications immediately. The council members stared in stunned silence. Admiral, Thela finally managed. We are grateful, but the Carven have over 300 warships in our system. They are the most powerful military force in this sector of the galaxy. The Admiral's expression didn't change. I am aware of the Carven Armada's general capabilities. Please transmit all tactical data immediately. Our advance forces will arrive within 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Valon blurted. That's impossible. The nearest system is 3 days away at maximum FTL. Admiral Zhou's lips curved in the expression humans call a smile, though it did not reach her eyes. Transmit the data, Ambassador. Zhao out. The transmission ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. Could they be lying? Neris asked, giving us false hope. To what end? Countered Morrel. What would they gain? Send them everything. Thela decided. All Carven positions, shield, frequencies, weapon signatures, everything we have. As Valon rushed to comply, Thela felt something she had not experienced since the crisis began. A flicker of genuine hope. Yet alongside it came an unsettling realization. If humans could indeed arrive within 15 minutes, then everything the Lenari thought they knew about galactic travel capabilities was wrong. And that raised a disturbing question. What else about humanity had they fundamentally misunderstood? Unexpected response. The Lenari Planetary Defense Center, located 3 levels above the Harmony Chamber, had become a tomb of extinguished hope over the 40 days of Carven aggression. Its advanced systems, designed for tracking weather patterns and guiding civilian vessels, had been hastily repurposed for war, a transformation as awkward as it was ineffective. Now, 13 minutes after Admiral Zhou's transmission, Thela stood beside Valon at the main sensor console, watching the steady approach of the Carven landing craft. With the orbital bombardment having reduced the shields to barely 7% integrity, the Armada had begun the next phase. Ground invasion. Shield failure imminent, intomed the automated system. Final collapse estimated in 9 minutes. The evacuation of the southern districts is only 40% complete, reported Neris, who had taken charge of civilian protection efforts. We need at least 30 more minutes. Thela's inner eyelids fluttered in distress. We don't have 30 minutes. Ambassador, called one of the communications technicians, we're receiving multiple emergency transmissions from Carven vessels. Valon frowned, his skin shifting to the copper tones of confusion. Why would they be broadcasting emergencies? They're winning. Put it through, Thela ordered. The speaker system crackled to life, filling the center with panicked Carven voices. Appeared from nowhere. How did they? Evasive maneuvers. All ships break forma. Weapons like nothing we've ever. By the void, they're everywhere. How many of? The transmissions cut off abruptly, replaced by static. What's happening? Thela demanded, turning to the sensor operators. Unknown, Ambassador, replied the chief operator, her fingers dancing across the console. Our long-range sensors were damaged in the first wave. We can only monitor near-orbital space and... She stopped suddenly, her skin blanching to pure white. Something's coming through the atmosphere. Multiple objects, descending at... That can't be right. What do you see? Valon pressed, leaning over her shoulder. Objects moving at hypersonic velocity through the atmosphere, but with no heat signature, the operator reported incredulously. No friction effects. No sonic boom. It's as if they're ignoring physics altogether. The Defense Center's main view screen, which had been showing the approaching Carven landing craft, suddenly shifted to an orbital view. The image was patchy due to damaged sensors, but what it revealed drew gasps from everyone present. The Carven fleet, which had maintained perfect formation during their relentless advance through Lenari space, was in chaos. Ships veered in all directions, some colliding with each other in their panic. And among them, moving with impossible precision, were vessels of a design no Laneri had ever seen. They were sleek, dark, with none of the ornate flourishes that characterize most galactic ships. No visible weapon emplacements, no engine nacelles, no external sensor arrays, just smooth predatory shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Human ships, they had to be. But there was something wrong with the scale. The largest carven dreadnoughts were nearly 5 kilometers long, massive vessels that could obliterate a small moon. Next to them, the human vessels appeared tiny, the largest perhaps only half a kilometer in length. Yet as Thyla watched, one of these small human ships accelerated toward a carven dreadnought. There was no visible weapons discharge, no missile launch, no energy beam. But suddenly a third of the dreadnought simply ceased to exist, the metal at the edge of the impossibly clean-cut glowing white-hot. "By the first harmony," whispered Neris, who had joined them at the console. "What kind of weapons can do that?" Before anyone could respond, the center's communication system activated again. "Laneri Defense Center. This is Captain Maya Chen of the UES Defiant," came a calm human voice. "We have engaged the Carven fleet in high orbit. Be advised we are deploying ground forces to assist with evacuation and civilian protection. They will arrive at your location in approximately 30 seconds. Thyla exchanged bewildered glances with her fellow council members. 30 seconds. From orbit. "Incoming objects have changed trajectory," reported the sensor operator. They're heading directly for this facility." "Defensive posture," ordered Valen instinctively, before remembering that the Laneri had no meaningful ground defenses to activate. "Wait," Thyla commanded. "If the humans wanted to harm us, they could have simply let the Carven continue their attack." The seconds ticked by intense silence. Then, with no warning, the air in the center of the defense center shimmered like heat above desert sands. The distortion expanded, forming a perfect sphere about 3 meters in diameter. "Stand back," Valon warned, placing himself protectively in front of Thyla. The sphere of distorted air pulsed once, twice, then vanished, revealing a group of figures where nothing had been moments before. Humanoid, clad in form-fitting armor of a dull gray material that seemed to shift subtly as it caught the light. Their helmets completely obscured their faces, presenting only a reflective black surface. The tallest figure stepped forward, helmet retracting with a fluid motion to reveal a human face. Female, with features that suggested genetic heritage from multiple Earth regions. "Ambassador Thyla?" she asked, her gaze unerringly finding the Laneri leader despite never having seen her before. "I am Thyla," she confirmed, stepping past Valen's protective stance. "Commander Layla Rahman, Earth Special Operations." The human introduced herself with a slight nod. "We're here to secure your leadership and assist with evacuation. Captain Chen has tasked my team with ensuring your safety." "How did you appear in our facility?" Valen demanded. "Our defensive systems detected no breach, no conventional transport technology." Rahman's expression remained neutral. "Displacement technology. I'm not authorized to elaborate further." She turned back to Thyla. "Ambassador, the Kargan forces in orbit are being neutralized, but their ground forces have already landed in several locations. We need to move you and your council to a secure location immediately." Another human stepped forward, this one keeping their helmet in place. They extended a hand, projecting a 3-dimensional holographic map of the city and surrounding areas. "We've established a secure zone here," Rahman continued, indicating a location in the mountains 30 kilometers from the capital. "Our ships are creating a defensive perimeter. We can transport your leadership team immediately, and we have additional forces assisting with civilian evacuation throughout the population centers." "Transport? How?" asked Neris cautiously. Rahman gestured to the sphere of distortion that had delivered them. "The same way we arrived. It's completely safe for Laneri physiology. We've confirmed compatibility." Thyla studied the human commander carefully. Everything about this situation defied Laneri understanding of galactic technology. No species they had encountered in their long history possessed displacement technology that could transport beings instantly through solid matter. No military force could arrive from outside a star system in 15 minutes. No weapons could slice through carven dreadnought armor like it was paper. Yet here the humans stood, doing the impossible with the casual confidence of beings performing routine tasks. Another impact rocked the facility, but lighter than the previous bombardments. That was a carven cruiser crashing after being disabled. Raman explained. Their fleet is in disarray, but debris will continue to pose a threat. Ambassador, we need to move now. Thela made her decision. We will accompany you, Commander Raman. But I must know, why are you helping us? Humanity has stayed isolated from galactic politics since your emergence. You have no treaties with us, no obligations. For the first time, Raman's professional demeanor softened slightly. Let's get you to safety first, Ambassador. Admiral Zhao will explain everything once the immediate crisis is contained. She touched a control on her wrist, and the displacement sphere reappeared. Please step inside with your council members. The transition is momentary and causes no discomfort. Thela nodded to her fellow Laneri, and together they stepped into the sphere. Her last glimpse of the defense center showed the remaining human operators beginning to assist the Laneri staff with evacuation procedures, moving with the practiced efficiency of those who had done this many times before. Then the world shifted, and Thela found herself standing in a cavernous facility carved into a mountainside, overlooking the capital city in the distance. Through the massive transparent viewport, she could see the orbital battle unfolding. The once mighty carven fleet was being systematically dismantled by a force less than a tenth its size. Welcome to Forward Operating Base Alpha, said a new human voice. Thela turned to see an older human female approaching. Dressed in the same black uniform with silver piping she had seen on Admiral Zhao during the transmission. The insignia, however, identified a different rank. General Miranda Chen, the human, introduced herself. Task Force Commander, Laneri Defense Operation. She gestured to the viewport. I apologize for the view, but we thought your council would want to monitor the situation. General, Thela acknowledged, still processing the rapid changes. Your intervention is beyond anything we could have imagined. The speed of your response alone defies all known physics. Chen's expression remained composed, but something like resignation flickered in her eyes. Yes, I suppose from your perspective it would. Admiral Zhao will be joining us shortly to discuss the broader implications. In the meantime, please know that we have medical teams assisting your wounded across the planet, and our vessels are engaging all carven forces in the system. Will your vessels be sufficient? Asked Valen, watching as another carven dreadnought was cleaved in two by an invisible force. The Carven Armada is the most feared military force in the quadrant. For the first time, General Chen allowed herself a small smile. They were, Coordinator Valen. They were Revelation and Alliance. The human command center buried within the mountain was a study in efficient minimalism. No ornate decorations, no ceremonial spaces, no concessions to aesthetics, just clean lines, functional workstations, and displays showing real-time battle information from across the Laneri system. 6 hours after their dramatic rescue from the defense center, Thela and the Council watched in continued astonishment as the last carven vessel in the system, their flagship dreadnought, attempted to flee toward the system's edge. On the main tactical display, a tiny human vessel, identified as the UES Indomitable, pursued the massive carven ship. Despite the dreadnought being nearly 10 times its size, the outcome was never in doubt. The human vessel executed a maneuver that seemed to bend the fabric of space itself, appearing simultaneously at multiple positions around the fleeing carven. Then, with surgical precision, its invisible weaponry disabled the dreadnought's propulsion systems without destroying the vessel. Target neutralized, reported a human operator. Carven flagship Eternal Dominion is dead in space. Their weapons, shields, and engines are offline. Life support remains functional. Excellent, responded Admiral Zhao, who had arrived an hour earlier. "Prepare boarding teams. I want their command staff and navigational databases secured." Thila turned from the display to face the Admiral, who stood calmly observing the tactical situation. 327 Carven warships, she said quietly. "The fleet that has terrorized this quadrant for decades, and your forces defeated them in 6 hours with no casualties." 3 casualties, Zhao corrected her gently. 2 crew members injured during atmospheric operations, and 1 ground team member wounded while evacuating civilians from Carven ground forces. She paused. "All are expected to make full recoveries." The precision of the correction was telling. The humans tracked every detail, valued every life, even in the midst of what should have been an impossible military operation. "Admiral," Thila said carefully, "I believe the time has come for the explanation Commander Raman promised. What we have witnessed today contradicts everything we thought we knew about galactic military and technological capabilities, and it raises profound questions about humanity's role in the interstellar community." Zhao nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You're right, Ambassador. Please, gather your council. There are things you need to understand about humanity's place in the galaxy, and why we've chosen to reveal ourselves now." 30 minutes later, the Linari Council assembled in a conference room adjacent to the command center. Admiral Zhao was joined by General Chen and several other high-ranking human officers. The tension in the room was palpable, not from fear, but from the profound sense that galactic history was about to pivot on whatever revelations came next. First, Admiral Zhao began, "Let me assure you that the Carven threat to the Linari Confederation has been neutralized. Not just the forces in this system, but throughout your territory. While we were engaging their fleet here, other Earth forces were striking simultaneously at Carven positions throughout your space. All Linari worlds are now secure." Murmurs of astonishment passed through the council. "Furthermore," Zhao continued, "we have transmitted evidence of our intervention to all major galactic powers, along with a simple message. The Linari Confederation is under Earth's protection. Any further aggression against your people will be met with immediate and decisive response." Thila struggled to process the implications. "Admiral, while we are profoundly grateful, I must ask, why? Why reveal your true capabilities now? And why to protect us specifically?" Zhao exchanged glances with her fellow officers, then nodded to a human Thila hadn't noticed before, an older male with silver hair, wearing civilian clothes rather than a uniform. "Ambassador Thila, council members," he said, rising from his seat at the side of the room. "I am Dr. Elias Okonkwo, xenosociologist and special advisor to Earth's diplomatic corps. Perhaps I can provide some context." He moved to the center of the room, activating a holographic display that showed the galaxy with various civilizations highlighted in different colors. "When humanity achieved faster-than-light travel 70 years ago, we did what any species might do. We explored eagerly, making contact with the nearest civilizations, learning about the galactic community we were joining. But unlike most emerging species, we had the advantage of being able to observe before formally announcing ourselves." "You were watching us?" asked Neris, her skin flushing with the orange of indignation. "Not in any invasive way," Dr. Okonkwo assured her. "But we monitored open communications, trade routes, diplomatic exchanges, and what we saw troubled us deeply." The holographic display shifted to show conflicts throughout the galaxy, territorial disputes, resource wars, conquered worlds. "We observed a galactic civilization where might consistently made right," Okonkwo continued, "where powerful species like the Carven could simply take what they wanted from weaker civilizations, where supposed alliances and mutual defense treaties meant nothing when truly tested." Thila felt a wave of shame, knowing the Linari had observed the same patterns yet had somehow convinced themselves they would be spared such treatment. "We saw civilizations with beautiful ethical philosophies and lofty ideals," Okonkwo said, his voice tinged with genuine sadness, "who nonetheless abandoned their allies the moment it became inconvenient to help them. We saw advanced species who could have used their technology to lift others up, instead using it to exploit or subjugate. And so humanity decided to hide its true nature, Thela realized aloud. Not hide, corrected General Chen. Observe, evaluate, plan. Earth's history is violent. Admiral Zhou took over. We nearly destroyed ourselves more than once before finally unifying our planet. That violent past taught us hard lessons about power and responsibility. When we saw the state of galactic politics, we made a collective decision. Humanity would not reveal its full capabilities until we understood exactly what role we wanted to play in this community. And what role is that? Asked Elder Talus, speaking for the first time since the battle began. Admiral Zhou's expression hardened slightly. To put it simply, Elder Talus, the adults in the room. The bluntness of the statement shocked the council into silence. What the Admiral means, Dr. Okonkwo interjected diplomatically, is that humanity observed a galaxy lacking a stabilizing moral force. The strong preyed upon the weak with impunity. Civilizations with so much to offer each other instead existed in a perpetual state of suspicion, exploitation, and occasional outright aggression. But why reveal yourselves to help us specifically? Morrell asked. The Lenari are not the first species to face extinction at the hands of conquerors. The human representatives exchanged glances again, and this time it was General Chen who answered. Because you asked, she said simply. I don't understand, Thela admitted. In the 70 years we've been observing galactic civilization, Chen explained, the Lenari are one of the few species who consistently live by their stated values. You develop medical technology and share it freely. You restore ecosystems damaged by others and ask nothing in return. You send healers to war zones regardless of which side controls the territory. You actually try to make the galaxy better. Admiral Zhou added, not just for yourselves, but for everyone. That's rarer than you might think. Dr. Okonkwo stepped forward again. When we received your distress call, not a diplomatic request, not a formal invocation of some treaty obligation, but a simple plea for help from one sentient species to another, Earth's Security Council voted unanimously to intervene. Not just because you deserved saving, but because how we responded to your call would define humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. Thela considered this explanation, finding both comfort and disquiet in it. So now that you have revealed your true capabilities, what happens next? Will humanity become just another empire, using its superior technology to dominate others? No, Admiral Zhou said firmly. That's not our intention. But we will no longer stand by while peaceful civilizations are exterminated by the likes of the Carven. What we're proposing, General Chen added, is a new kind of alliance, not based on military obligation or economic advantage, but on shared values. Species who genuinely want to build a better galaxy, working together with humanity's protection. And those who don't share these values? Asked Valen cautiously. Admiral Zhou's smile was thin. They'll learn that actions have consequences. As if to punctuate her statement, the main display showed the captured Carven flagship being secured by human boarding parties, its once mighty hull now helpless in space. We would like the Lenari Confederation to be the first formal member of this new alliance, Dr. Okonkwo said. Your moral standing in the galaxy would lend legitimacy to the enterprise in a way that humanity, as newcomers, cannot provide alone. Thela looked at her fellow council members, seeing the mixture of hope, caution, and wonder in their expressions. Everything they thought they knew about the galaxy and their place in it had changed in a single day. You offer us protection, she said carefully, but what do you ask in return? Nothing you haven't already been doing for centuries, Admiral Zhou replied. Continue being who you are, healers, teachers, diplomats. Show the galaxy what cooperation and compassion look like. Humanity will handle the sharp edges of galactic politics for now. And if we decline, asked Elder Talus, then we protect you anyway, General Chen said without hesitation. We've already announced as much to the galaxy. The offer of alliance is separate from our commitment to your security. Phila felt something she had not experienced since before the Carven appeared in Lenari space. Hope. Not just for her people's survival, but for a fundamental shift in the brutal calculus that had governed interstellar relations for millennia. I believe we would be honored to be your first allies, she said, looking directly at Admiral Zhao. But such a decision must be ratified by all Lenari worlds. Given what has happened today, I have little doubt of the outcome, but proper procedures must be followed. Of course, Zhao nodded in approval. We respect your governance traditions. Dr. Okonkwo stepped forward once more. There's one more thing you should know, Ambassador Thela. Even before your distress call, humanity had been preparing to emerge from our self-imposed isolation. Recent observations had shown the Carven and several other expansionist powers accelerating their conquests. Our analysts predicted that within 5 years, civilizations like yours would be systematically eliminated across the quadrant. So we had already begun positioning our forces, continued Admiral Zhao. Your call merely accelerated a process already in motion. By the end of this standard galactic month, humanity will have established defensive positions throughout this region of space. The age of unpunished aggression is over. As she spoke, the tactical display updated to show human vessels appearing near other threatened systems across the sector. A coordinated revelation of force that would undoubtedly send shockwaves through the established power structures of the galaxy. Thela watched as the balance of power visibly shifted before her eyes. The Lenari had sent out a desperate plea, never truly expecting salvation. Instead, they had inadvertently become the catalyst for humanity's emergence as a galactic power, one apparently determined to rewrite the cruel rules that had governed interspecies relations for thousands of years. I suspect, she said quietly, that historians will mark this day as the beginning of a new era in galactic history. Admiral Zhao nodded, her expression solemn. That's our hope, Ambassador. The galaxy has operated by the principle that might makes right for too long. It's time for something better. And as the human vessels continued their coordinated appearance across dozens of star systems, revealing a military and technological capability beyond anything the established powers had imagined, the message to the galaxy was unmistakable. Humanity had arrived, and everything was about to change.